Hi guys, it's Ernest from Proximal Consciousness. How you guys doing today? Got a great subject matter. Young adults. Now, if you've made it through the preteen years and you've made it through the teenage years, you've now reached the young adult years. Now, the young adults are interesting because they have strong associations, they got strong likes and dislikes, and they're now ready to just about begin their adult years. They're of their age, they're legally able to do what every human being of adult age is capable of doing in this country. Now, that's saying a lot. Right? They can drink, they can get married, they can vote, they can do all kind of things legally. Now, how they've been raised and the morals and the ethics, the character and personality that you find in young adults is now prevalent. But they lack something. You say, what is it that they lack? They lack experience. Right? So they're now beginning their lives, for the most part, independent from their parents, right? They're going off to college, or should I say they're finishing up college in some cases. They are getting their first jobs, first careers, or beginning or continuing onward in jobs that they started, let's say, when they were a little younger. Right? They're getting married. Some are even considering having children and beginning the whole process all over again, but this time responsible for raising another human being. It's an exciting time. It's when you begin to see what environment they existed in and that they're operating in, right? It's the setting free, as you were, setting the young adults free. You know, they're assuming the role of, let's say, the next generation. Right? Everything that they've been through, everything that they're going through has prepared them to assume the role, and the future role, of an adult. They're going to run our country or begin the process of trying to find their seat within our country to help run it. They're going to help run the government. They're going to run business. They're going to run churches. They're going to run schools. Young adults are getting positioned in the country, in the world, to assume the power, to assume the relationships that they should have with every aspect of the world. That's a big responsibility. And then you begin to see just how important it is for healthy preteens and teenagers and now young adults. It's a lot of weight. There's a lot of preparation that goes into these young adults, right? They can't really miss the step. I mean, yes, there's always an opportunity for correction here and there, but it's a little late, to get started. There's a lot of catch up. There are a lot of people out there who have been raised with assuming this role of adulthood and young adulthood in mind. To be that person that hasn't been properly prepared. Educationally wise, morally wise, character, ethics, personality wise, really, the association wise. To be that person that's not fully prepared, means that they're falling behind, means that they're probably going to encounter a large number of people who are more qualified than them, who are more balanced, who are more capable, who are more confident than they are. And that's a very frustrating thing, situation to be in, right? When you're trying to get settled into the world, you're trying to assume all the roles necessary to be successful, only to find out that your preparation hasn't been up to par with everyone else. That you now have to run a race not as the head or the lead, but somewhere way behind. Not just trying to look forward, but trying to look backwards in order to repair, to figure out what needs to be repaired in your understanding of the world. And you're seeing what needs to be repaired in your abilities to cope, to develop, to maintain, to advance in this world. In whatever aspect you choose, right? I mean, you have to be balanced. You have to be outgoing. You have to be motivated. You have to be focused. You have to be intellectual. You have to be emotionally mature to continue on from this point, right? You have to understand certain things, certain responsibilities of becoming a young adult and eventually an adult. You know, the experiences that you're now and that they are now faced with is real, with real losses, with real tragedies, economic concerns, physical concerns, emotional, psychological concerns. They are now assuming roles in our society that may put them in control of situations that they have to be prepared to hold. And if they're lacking, then they may do damage to an otherwise healthy system. It's a very serious place, a point in one's life to be at. When people are looking at you, now critically looking at you, objectively looking at your abilities to perform, your abilities to cope, your abilities to make decisions that impact not only your own life, but how it impacts other people's lives. And when you're talking about the world, you're talking about assets, you're talking about resources, talking about a great deal of power, a great deal of influence. People don't want to damage that. You know, you don't want to take losses in those areas. You don't want to hurt your reputation in an industry, in the world. So when you're promoting people, when you're hiring people, when you're putting people in place to assume the role of managing a country's assets, a business's assets, a country's assets, the world's assets, people want to know that you have the balance and the abilities to do that. To know that you have the abilities and the maturity to establish relationships, to grow relationships, to develop them, and to get things in a usable condition. And to maintain it as such. It's a lot of responsibility. So being and reaching the age of a young adult, having that energy, having that focus, having that drive, having that desire, the will, the understanding of what it all entails, means having grasped everything prior to that, preteen, teenage, and then reaching that young adult. Knowing the responsibility of our educational institutions, having valued it, right? Knowing the importance of religion to a country, knowing the importance of a government to our country, knowing the importance of family and family development to our country, understanding community, understanding human development, and also human redevelopment, because there are those that will require assistance going forward because they just didn't pay much attention to it as they were going through those phases. Their parents and those that are around them didn't pay enough attention to it. Now, ultimately, though, when you reach the young adult years, it's your responsibility now. No matter who dropped the ball in the past, it's your responsibility as a young adult to take care of yourself, to identify your weaknesses and to what? To correct it. To identify your strengths and do what? And utilize it when the opportunities present itself for you to advance your life, your career, your place in this world. It's your responsibility to identify the threats that face you going forward and to find the proper approach to those threats. Right? It's a big responsibility. It's a big role. It's something that you, as a young adult, will have to grapple with for the rest of your lives. Every day will present experiences that you must master, that you must understand, so that you can settle yourselves and move forward. It's not an end point. It's only the beginning. Everything else was just preparing you to begin this journey as a young adult. Right? And then moving on from a young adult to what we would consider an adult, fully experienced. And I'll talk about that next in another video. But being a young adult means that you already have mastered the importance of developing associations and friendships. That you already know how to enter into a relationship with the opposite sex and develop a family, something that requires long-term commitment, morality, balance, maturity, dedication. It already means that you understand the risk of falling short in all the areas that you need to actually not fall short in, so that you can be prepared when you encounter situations that may be challenged, that may require you to stretch. You understand that you'll encounter those things at some point in time, but you know how to handle it. You know the boundaries of it all. You know the risk, you know the research and effort that has to go into becoming a great young adult and eventually a great adult. Reaching young adulthood is not a time to grow slack. I mean, some people say, oh, I'm drinking age now. They go out and they start drinking and they party day in and day out. Now, some people can do that because what their parents have prepared them with and what their parents are leaving to them gives them financially maybe a head start on others, a hand up. Some people are fortunate enough to get that, but most people do not have that opportunity. Which means going into young adult years looking at it as if it's a time to let go, it's a time where you can get unfocused, it's a time where you can drink and whoop it up and party, can sometimes ruin an otherwise great introduction and preparation for it. I mean, it's not a time to get lax. It's a time to focus. It's a time to understand that a lot of what you've been taught in your preteen and teenage years is preparing you for a battle of the future. And to get on that battlefield and say, I'm just going to get drunk. I'm just going to smoke. I'm going to gamble. I'm going to whip it up and party day in and day out. I'm going to get the new house, get the new car, get all kind of credit. I'm going to shop and travel, and basically miss the whole point of the preparation. I mean, most people can possibly live to be what, 80, 90 years old. Some people actually reach 100 years old. You got at least 50, 60, 70, maybe even 80 years to be responsible for yourself, someday your mate, your children, and not only all the institutional stuff that you'll be responsible for. That's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of commitment. I mean, you have to really know what you're doing when you're being given that kind of responsibility, that kind of a task. So, young adults have a lot on their shoulders and have to learn a lot and have to gain a lot of experience very fast in order to do well going forward. So it's not a time to get slack. It's a time to hunker down, to focus, to be motivated. So that's the thought that I had today, guys. I think that adults and young adults and even the preteens and teenagers need to be aware of the journey ahead of them and need to take the time to look back to see where they need to readdress, redevelop, and focus. So I hope you guys are liking my videos. I hope you're subscribing to my channel. And I look forward to talking with you guys further on the subject matter. And I'll talk to you later. Bye now.